Star Wars 7x7, episode 2169. Today we interrupt our continuing deep dive into Queen's Peril to talk about some news related to Galaxy's Edge in Anaheim and what that may or may not mean for Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. Punch it! Hey, Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So, we just got an announcement about Disneyland, about the Anaheim set of parks and resorts and whatnot. And here is the deal. They have proposed a phased reopening, and it will start with Downtown Disney, and then it will go to the main theme park and the California Adventure Park, and then hotels will come after that. So specifically, the dates that we're talking about are July 9th for Downtown Disney in Anaheim, and then the parks opening on July 17th, which is a Friday, and that would actually mark the 65th anniversary of the parks opening in general, which is pretty amazing timing. And then the Grand California Hotel and Spa and the Paradise Pier Hotel will be slated to open on July 23rd. And that means that Galaxy's Edge would open on the 17th of July, which would be 2 days after it is scheduled to open at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. That's supposed to open on July 15th. They are doing their own phased reopening, and I believe it's Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom that are opening on the 13th, and then Epcot and Hollywood Studios are opening on the 15th, when Hollywood Studios is where Galaxy's Edge is in Florida. Now, the version of Downtown Disney that exists in Florida, which is Disney Springs, has already opened and is continuing to progress, and apparently they're using stormtroopers to enforce social distancing, which is kind of an interesting way of going about things. And when the parks open, they are going to be opening under severely limited restrictions. For example, certain events that have the tendency to, gather people in large quantities won't be happening. So parades and other big events, meet and greets aren't going to be happening. People are going to be required to wear masks. People may be required to have their temperature checked. There are all these safeguards that are being put into place. And yet, on the website, there is a notification about COVID-19 that says, hey, we're doing our best to protect everyone from COVID-19, and we expect you to do your best as well. But by visiting Disney parks, you are voluntarily accepting the risks inherent with COVID-19. Now, circling back to the original reason for the show today, the announcement about Disneyland's phased reopening, this is only a proposal, and not to get political, but to vaguely get political. There has definitely been a difference in the way that Florida and California have implemented lockdowns and lifted lockdown restrictions. And so it seems as though California has been stricter by comparison to Florida. That being said, what the fine folks at Disney have done is submit a proposal which is pending the approval of state government and also of Orange County and City of Anaheim. So there's still hurdles to jump over, but I imagine that they wouldn't have submitted this plan without some assurance is probably the wrong word, but without some feeling that it was going to be accepted, right? They wouldn't just, shoot out a proposal and just keep their fingers crossed and then make a big PR announcement saying, hey, we proposed this and these are the dates that we think we're going to be open. I mean, I'm sure they have done their due diligence, and I'm sure that they have worked with state and county and city officials to get as close as they can with this proposal to it being acceptable. So, I definitely think that there's a good chance that it's going to be accepted as long as events continue to go the way that they're going. So you'll be able to go back to Batu on July 15th in Florida and July 17th in Anaheim, or go to it for the first time if that's the case. I haven't been yet. I look forward to doing it, but I don't know if it's going to be this year for me, quite honestly. I've been thinking about Star Wars Celebration Anaheim a lot, and one of the things that I arrived at today, first of all, there's still been no public announcement, and the Twitter feed for Celebration hasn't been updated since February, so we still don't know what's going on in that regard. But in thinking about Celebration, they sold tickets for that event when we were in a pre-COVID-19 world. So that event is set up to have tens of thousands of people there in the Anaheim Convention Center. And there's no real ability, I would say, to be able to create social distancing within that facility for that many people, and certainly not for the Saturday and Sunday of the event. Thursday, Friday, maybe you could pull it off because the demand and probably the number of tickets that they've sold, having gone to a few of these, I've been very lucky in that regard. The crowds on Thursday and Friday are definitely way lower than the crowds on Saturday and Sunday. So it occurs to me that it would be a rather difficult proposition either way, Thursday through Sunday, to be able to pull off this event, knowing that the amount of tickets have been sold is utterly without consideration of COVID-19 or social distancing, which again, that's when the tickets were sold initially. That's when the big blast of ticket sales happened in a pre-COVID-19 world. So that's not their fault by any stretch. It just means that we are in a different world than we were when tickets first went on sale. And I've seen some posts suggesting that this news about Disneyland Anaheim reopening, or the proposal for it reopening and for it to be happening in mid-July, that this could be a positive sign for Star Wars Celebration. I just don't know if I'm fully convinced in that regard. And I know that doesn't necessarily line up with the Daily Dose of Star Wars Joy if I'm coming at it with, I'm not feeling the same kind of optimism in that regard. But yeah, that's where it feels like things are standing right now. And again, I don't have any inside information about this, so hopefully we will hear something from Reed Pop soon. So that's where we're going to leave things with this episode, but I'd love to hear what you think. If Celebration is in fact going to happen and you have tickets for it, will you go under the current circumstances? And if it's not going to happen, do you want to see it postponed till later in the year, or would you rather see it pushed all the way out to 2021? Chime in wherever there is a comment section where you catch this episode, or at home base for the show at sw7x7.com. Thank you so much for joining me for this and every episode. As always, please keep your loved ones safe and healthy, and your communities as well. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
Not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.